Declaration of Independence, for me, is one of the best pieces of writing I've ever seen.
It's a revolutionary document for a revolutionary statement.
You cannot help but be stirred when you read those words.
Thomas Jefferson's writing is absolutely magnificent. And when he wrote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." That was the first time anybody had bothered to write that down.
And then you turn the clock back and think of when he was writing, how young he was, what a statement it was given the history of the world at that point. And you feel the excitement of being on the cusp of something so profound that it's hard to put it into words.
If you review our Declaration of Independence, it has those beautiful words about all men are created equal and governments are formed among men to represent the people. It was a good statement of what we were all about.
The Louisiana Purchase was the real estate deal of the century, the 19th century. For mere pennies an acre, the United States of America doubled its size overnight. Here's how the deal went down. When Thomas Jefferson became president in 1801, one of his top priorities was to take possession of the port of New Orleans. Its prime location at the mouth of the Mississippi River on the Gulf of Mexico made it ideal for American farmers transporting their goods to markets. So Jefferson sent a broker to talk with the current owner of New Orleans, France. The French were interested because Napoleon needed the cash to pay for a war with Great Britain, but Jefferson's first offer of $2 million was rejected. In 1803, Jefferson tried again, this time offering $10 million. The French not only agreed to sell New Orleans, but threw in the rest of the Louisiana Territory for only $5 million more. It's a bargain of epic proportions, 828,000 square miles proportions, from the Mississippi River to the Rocky Mountains proportions, all for mere pennies an acre in today's currency. Sound too good to be true?
The day America moved beyond the principle of one man, one vote. For that was the day the 19th Amendment to the Constitution became the law of the land, guaranteeing women the right to vote as well. The amendment was a long time coming. Trailblazers such as Lucretia Mott, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and Susan B. Anthony launched the women's suffrage movement back in the 1800s. But not until the early 20th century did the movement gain any traction. Individual states began granting the franchise to women, but nationwide, voting rights continued to elude them. In 1917, with the United States having entered World War I, women began a series of daily pickets outside the White House, accusing President Woodrow Wilson of hypocrisy for supporting democracy overseas while opposing a women's rights amendment here at home. Police arrested hundreds of protesters, who ultimately won the publicity war by touring the country in their prison uniforms after their release. By 1918, President Wilson had come around, and with the help of allies such as William Jennings Bryan, Congress approved the Voting Rights Amendment and sent it to the states, with Tennessee having the honor of putting it over the top.
A short time ago, an American airplane dropped one bomb on Hiroshima and destroyed its usefulness to the enemy. That bomb has more power than 20,000 tons of TNT. The Japanese began the war from the air at Pearl Harbor. They have been repaid many-fold, and the end is not yet. With this bomb, we have now added a new and revolutionary increase in destruction to supplement the growing power of our armed forces. In their present form, these bombs are now in production, and even more powerful forms are in development. It is an atomic bomb. It is a harnessing of the basic power of the universe. The force from which the sun draws its power has been loosed against those who brought war to the Far East. We have spent more than $2 billion on the greatest scientific gamble in history, and we have won.
On this day in 1964, President Lyndon Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act.
This Civil Rights Act is a challenge to all of us.
Led by Dr. Martin Luther King, the civil rights movement had been gathering force.
I believe that we are going to achieve freedom. Our destiny is tied up with the destiny of America.
The bill banned racial discrimination in education, employment, and public facilities, but not everyone shared these ideals.
I say segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever.
It took all of Johnson's famous political skill to prevail. The law ushered in an era of progress for all minorities and women, and that's how this day went down in history, July 2nd, 1964.
The world waited. July 20th, 1969. It is said that 500 million people gathered at TV sets around the world to wait for the first Earthling to set foot on the moon. Countless millions more listened on the radio to the voices from the moon.
This Neil, radio check. Neil, this is Houston, loud and clear. Break, buzz.
Never before had so many people been attuned to one event at one time. The world waited, curious, wondering, aware, like a sleeper wakened in the night by a faraway sound. A moment sensed, more than understood.
Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now. Neil, we can see you coming. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
"15 mayors, most from big cities, appealed to the Congressional Joint Economic Committee today for some federal emergency help for New York City, arguing that a New York default would hurt every other city in the country by making it impossible for other cities to borrow money.
New York is not here as a supplicant. It is not here for a handout. It's not asking for anything that we haven't done repeatedly for private enterprise, or asking the federal government to do that which it hasn't done indeed for itself.